What up, Blockchain Nation? What up, YouTube? Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button so you can get weekly notifications whenever I release videos. For those who watch consistently, I want to say a big thank you. You're far too kind. So, what really is a Ponzi scheme, especially in the cryptocurrency space? Now, with so much that's going on in the world, with so much that's going on in cryptocurrencies, usually with everything that has a legitimate need, or with anything that's actually legitimate, let me use that word, there are always things that come out that are scams. That's just awful truth. So the question is, how do you differentiate something that's a legitimate business to something that is from something that is a scam? Now, let me make this very, very clear. A Ponzi scheme is a business model, or should I use that word, whereby new investors or investors receive their returns from income from new investors. So what that means is, let's say an investor comes into a business and then you bring a second level of investors. So what happens is the first level of investors get their money from the second level of investors, right? Or they get their returns from the second level of investors. And then for these guys on the second level to get paid, you have to bring in a third level so that the guys on the third level can pay the guys on the second level. Now, there's never a product or a service. It's just people getting funds by bringing in new people into the business. Now, it sounds a lot like multi-level marketing. So let me be very, very clear. I think that multi-level marketing is a great business platform. But there's a huge difference between multi-level marketing and a Ponzi scheme. The difference is, let's look at this. So this is Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff was born April 1938. Anyway, bottom line is that he confessed operated the largest Ponzi scheme in the world. He defrauded people over $64.8 billion US dollars. Now, if you see, by Wikipedia's definition, a Ponzi scheme is a form of fraud that lures investors and pays profits to earlier investors with funds from more recent investors. The scheme leads victims to believe that profits are coming from products or sales or other means, but there's never a product, there's never a service. That's what a Ponzi scheme is. It's just people taking money from other people and giving it to the people at the top, but there's no product, there's no service. Yes, I know multi-level marketing has gotten a bad name for that reason, but let's look at what multi-level marketing really is. Multi-level marketing is a strategy where some direct sales companies use to encourage distributors to recruit new distributors who are paid a percentage of their recruiters, here's the word, sales. The recruits are distributed downline. Distributors also make money through direct sales of products to customers. So more than just recruiting people into the business, which nothing wrong with that. But a multi-level marketing business makes its money from sales, from a product or from a service. That's how you know the difference between the two, right? So let's just look at one huge Ponzi scheme in the cryptocurrency space, which was, well, BitConnect. So before I show you that video, let's look at what Wikipedia says. It was, so it's an open source cryptocurrency, but let's look at legal issues. It will shut down its cryptocurrency exchange and the lending platform after regulators from Texas and North Carolina issued a cease and desist order against it. So it was suspected of being a Ponzi scheme because of its multi-level marketing structure and impossibly high payouts. BitConnect interest fluctuated greatly with the volatility of Bitcoin, which was tied to. Anyways, bottom line was, so if you watch this video, BitConnect, well, I don't know if you get anything out of this, but let's watch this real quick.
No, the world is not anymore the way it used to be. No. BitConnect!
So it was just some guy shouting on stage. There was no product, there was no service. People were just getting excited, and there was no product or service. So, I don't know. Eventually it shut down. But let me show you a huge one. That was good. No, that's not MakerDAO. I'm going to talk about MakerDAO. Let me just, since I'm on this page, what is MakerDAO? So people argue and say, yes, these platforms that they build on top of cryptocurrencies, and they are decentralized platforms, so they are complex, they cannot be understood. But this is a legitimate platform built on cryptocurrencies, that it's a smart contract that's powered on Ethereum that stabilizes the value of the DAI stablecoin through a smart contract and some other concepts. But my bottom line is, if you look at MakerDAO, this is a legitimate concept. You can see the documentation if you have the time. Yes, it might be complicated, but if you take your time and read through this, right? Or even if you don't have the energy or the strength to do this, the great thing about Maker is there's a foundation. There's a team of people you can reach out to and say, explain this stuff to me, right? There's a face behind it. There's a community, there's a forum, there's a blog, there's a foundation. There are careers, they're recruiting people. So this is a legitimate platform built on top of Ethereum. Does that make sense? Let's look at another one. CryptoKitties. CryptoKitties is a legitimate platform also built on top of Ethereum. If you look at CryptoKitties is not a product, is not a service, but it's a product. It is cats, eccentric cats that you can buy on the platform. But all the information you need is right here. Plus, if you go to About page, you will see human beings that you can reach out to and say, I don't understand this crap, please explain it to me, and they will explain it to you. Yeah? So it's a complex concept, but people shouldn't use complexity to say that you can't, they can't give you information about it. Technical details are right here. They give you all the details that you need, right? This is a solid platform. Even Ethereum that is still, that some of these platforms are built on top. In some cases, some of these schemes are built on Ethereum. I won't say which ones, but if you check, you can see the executive board of the Ethereum Foundation. Human beings you can reach out to. There's a technical white paper that you can read. There are developers. There's enough resources here, enough information that you can read and read and read to your heart's desire to find out more about this concept, right? So these are legitimate platforms. MakerDAO is a legitimate platform. CryptoKitties is a legitimate platform. Ethereum is a legitimate platform. All these are legitimate crypto platforms. But then there are the fake ones. Let's look at another fake one. This is OneCoin. This was one of the biggest scams in crypto history. Look at this. OneCoin is a Ponzi scheme promoted as a cryptocurrency by an offshore company, OneCoin Limited in Dubai, blah, 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 funded by Ruja Ignatova in concert with Sebastian Greenwood. OneCoin was considered a Ponzi scheme. $4 billion. They ripped off people of $4 billion. Ruja Ignatova. Now she disappeared. She was replaced by her brother. Most of the leaders have been disappeared. The guy is doing 90 years in prison. This thing was a huge fraud. And this even had some kind of products, but it was just a scam. Selling educational material. The entire thing was a scam. Go back to Bernie Madoff, big scam as well. So how do you differentiate a scam, a Ponzi scheme, from a legitimate business? Well, I'll show you how. So if you look at this page, you see that the Securities and Exchange Commission, these guys are a regulatory body by the United States. So they were investigating people like Madoff, suspecting of fraud for the longest time. And because of all that's gone on in the world, and because of these guys in the SEC trying to do their due diligence, they came up with this. Look at this. The SEC, Ponzi schemes using virtual currencies. A Ponzi scheme is an investment scam that involves the payment of purported returns. You guys are going to beat me up for butchering that word. I'm sorry. To existing investors from funds contributed by new investors. Ponzi scheme organizers often solicit new investors by promising to invest funds in opportunities claimed to generate high returns with little or no risk. Now, what are the red flags? Look out for potential scams. Bitcoin has virtual currencies such as Bitcoin have recently become popular and are intended to serve as a type of money, but they may be traded on online exchanges for conventional currencies, including the US dollar. But the problem is, with the rise of these virtual currencies in the global marketplace, may entice fraudsters to lure investors into Ponzi and other schemes. Let's look at some Ponzi schemes. Red flags: high investments with little or no risk. If something tells you, oh, we're going to give you a high investment with little or no risk, like, what's her name? Roja. Let's hear what she says. Did you say anything?
At Wembley Stadium, she spoke about joining not just a good investment and not just a revolutionary global financial movement, but a family.
We will be the biggest out there, and we will write history. And the cryptocurrency community will have to rewrite philosophy. Nobody can compare to us. We have today the most users. We are the biggest crypto reserve currency out there. And to everybody who tells me that I violate the philosophy of cryptocurrency, guys, we are a bigger community. We decide what the...
You get my point. Anyways, you should watch that whole thing. So anyways, they say little or no risk. over consistent returns. Investments tend to go up and down over time, which is true. But these guys tell you, no, we're high returns, consistent returns, regardless of anything. Regardless of market conditions, we are going to give you high returns. Run away when they tell you that. They are unregistered investments. Ponzi schemes typically involve investments that have not been registered with the SEC. So a lot of these ones, like OneCoin, was registered in Bulgaria, somewhere else, because the SEC will come for them. Unlicensed sellers, federal and state securities laws require certain investment professionals and their firms to be licensed or registered. Many Ponzi schemes involve unlicensed individuals. Secretive and complex strategies and fee structures. It's a good rule of thumb to avoid investments you don't understand. I know cryptocurrency is complex, and that's what they use to deceive some people. They say, well, it's a complex system, and it's a smart contract, and they talk about all this crap. But if you read about Ethereum, or you read about, they have read the white paper. There's so much. This will explain what Ethereum is. Or if you look at MakerDAO, which is a fantastic concept, they have a white paper. You know what I'm saying? Governors, developers, developer guides, documentation, white paper. They have a white paper. You can read the white paper that gives you all the details about what it is, right? But most of these things are just complex, and they tell you stuff. You don't understand it, but you invest anyway. Why? They tell you no minimum investment qualifications. Most legitimate private investment opportunities require you to be an accredited investor. Arguably, some investments that don't require a lot of money for you to get involved in, like a typical multi-level marketing company. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to be an accredited investor. So this one, it might not fall. This particular red flag might not fall into place for every single one of these scams, but for the most part, you would see a lot of these red flags, like all these ones. Difficulty in receiving payments. Yes, this is what happens later when the whole Ponzi scheme begins to collapse. Issues with paperwork. Be skeptical of excuses regarding why you can't review information about investment in writing. You see videos, you see people talking, but you never see anything in writing. Look at all these MakerDAO, CryptoKitties, which are legitimate platforms. There's always stuff in writing. There's always a white paper. There's always a human being that you can reach out to, right? With CryptoKitties, you see all these legitimate concepts. You see human beings. They say yes, they take ownership for it. But for the most part, all these scams nowadays, you won't see anything in writing. You just see stuff that says, but you won't see a face behind it. It comes through someone with a shared affinity. Fraudsters often exploit the trust derived from being members of a group that shares an affinity, such as national, ethnic, or religious affiliation. So it's unfortunate. All this stuff gives multi-level marketing a bad name. I'm a huge multi-level marketing proponent. I love multi-level marketing. I think it's a great business idea. But the problem is these Ponzi schemes just make it look like crap. But more than what I think about multi-level marketing, bottom line is that if you're going to get involved in any business whatsoever, make sure you take time to do your due diligence. I invested in Bitcoin, or I heard about Bitcoin in 2000, and it was December 2016. It was $900 for Bitcoin. I didn't invest in it at all. I was like, what's this crazy virtual currency? I didn't understand it, so I didn't invest. 2017, November, it was $20,000. If I'd invested then, I would probably be not doing this YouTube video today. I'll probably be a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? But I did it because I didn't understand it. Looking back, I'm like, oh, I missed out. But what if it didn't turn out to what I thought it was? So I'm saying this to say, most people run into all these scams because they greed and fear. They are greedy and they don't want to miss out. They're afraid of missing out. So in 2017, I remember when the price of Bitcoin was going through the roof, I know people who mortgaged their homes to buy it. And look at what happened to them. They didn't know what they were getting into, and then the price came down, and then they panicked, they tried to sell. But if they understood it, they wouldn't have worried about volatility. They would have just stayed in the market. Right now, I don't worry about Bitcoin. I could put a lot of money, personally, I'm not asking you to do that, into Bitcoin or into Ethereum, because I believe in the long-term growth of these currencies, because I understand Bitcoin, I understand Ethereum, I understand MakerDAO. I understand these platforms, so I'm not worried about volatility in those areas. But when it comes to other concepts that you do not understand, especially if they turn out being Ponzi schemes, you really want to be careful. Don't invest in something that you do not understand. Or take your time to learn about it, and don't just rush into it just because everybody else is doing it. Because yes, you could make a lot of money if it's a legitimate business. But if it's a legitimate business, things take time to build. It's if you make, I don't know, if you, arguably you could say, well, with Bitcoin, I know people invest money in Bitcoin and they made a lot of money in a short period of time. Absolutely, I agree. But also people lost a lot of money because they didn't understand the concept. So please be careful out there. If it's a legitimate business, please by all means push through. invest. If it's not, if you see any of these red flags, why don't you just take your time and understand it? Ask a lot of questions before you go ahead. Yeah? So be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I have. Till next time, my wish for you is that you learn more about cryptocurrencies, because crypto is changing and will change the world, especially in the decentralized finance remittance space. And those who get involved early, in my personal opinion, will greatly impact the future. And if that is you, then let's go change the world.